Have you ever just felt like you were a control freak? That anything that you were doing, you wanted to control the beginning, the middle, and the end. And did you ever realize like how much anxiety and stress that brought upon you? Well, on this episode, we're going to talk about the importance of letting go of the outcome on this episode of the Third Quarter Podcast. Welcome to the Third Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Ace, and you know I am blessed by the best, and so are you. And again, I don't know if you know this, especially if this is your first time listening. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the Third Quarter Podcast. And I'm so glad to have you. But you're in the presence of the number one podcast in the world in the health and wellness, mental wellness space, right? Now, do me a favor. Don't research that because it probably won't show up yet. But eventually when it shows up, I'll let you know and you can research it and you can find out for yourself. But until then, please follow the podcast, man, rate it and review it. It helps us out more than you know. And it helps other people out more than you know, too, because they get alerted that we have this podcast and we may have something they may need. So thank you so much in advance. Today is a hot button topic. It's hot. It's hot. The block is hot. The block is hot. The block is hot. The block is hot. We're talking about submitting control, man. Yeah, man. We're talking about that. We're talking about submitting control. And I just want to go on record and say that this sucks. Like, letting go of control sucks, but it really sucks. And I really hope that this podcast reaches you at a point where you're open mentally and spiritually and emotionally to hear what I have to say and allow this to really sink in, because initially there's probably going to be some pushback there because maybe you're not used to relinquishing control. Maybe you're a control freak. Maybe you're someone that is very protective of your future, which I understand. But I promise you, the more that you're willing to submit, the higher you are going to go. And I know it may not make sense right now, but there will be a point when this will all really deeply make sense to you. Submitting is probably one of the hardest things we can do in anything, in a relationship, in business, in friendship, in your own personal life. Submitting and letting go of control is hard because deep down, we want to control everything. We want to be the beginning and the middle and the end. And it just doesn't work that way. You're not God. You're not the Alpha and Omega. You're you. And you have a part to play in all of this. And, faith without works is dead. You can have all the faith that you want, but if you're not putting forward any type of action, then what really are you doing? So we do have a part of control in this, that we're supposed to control our actions and our day-to-days, and those things will influence the outcome. But ultimately, we have no say-so in how things end up. We have a say-so in how we show up. We have a say-so in how we influence the outcome. But by the end of the day, we don't have a say-so in how things end up. And that's scary, especially when you're embarking in something new. When you're trying something new, whether it's a business, you're on a weight loss journey, you're on a health journey, you're in a new relationship, you move to a different city, you move to a different state, you move to a different country, you're pivoting into a different career. Like, the idea of how something is going to end up, it's scary. And the natural instinct of a human being is to control everything, right? We want to control what we do. We want to control what people say. We want to control how people receive us, and we want to control the outcome. And, talking to, from a place of experience here, if that is your outlook in life, more power to you. I love you. I'm praying for you, but I don't want to be you. I don't, because I know deep down you are stressed. You are living in anxiety. You are maybe in a place of depression, sleepless nights, cranky, angry, because you're spending a lot of your time focused on something that you have no control of. All the while, the things that you can't control are slipping away. And what if we can flip that and put our attention into the things that we can control, we can influence, and let go of the things that we can't control and can't influence, and take our peace back? Because ultimately, when you are focused on controlling the end, what you may or may not realize is you're also saying, well, I'm going to give up my peace too. I'm going to focus and worry so much about how this thing is going to end, and I'm going to worry myself sick. I won't be able to have fun. I won't be able to get rest. It's going to be hard for me to be bearable in friendships and relationships because I'm always in this constant state of worry and panic. Now, if that's the life that you want, do your thing. Like, go for it. But that's not the life that I want. And if you're really being honest with yourself, it's probably not the life that you want either. So why do we do that? Why do we try to control the things that we can't control, but let the things that we can control slip? And we see it all the time, sometimes like in our bodies, like we're trying to focus on our work. We're trying to focus on our relationships. We got to make a lot of money. Like once I do this, then I will prioritize my health. Once my relationship is like this, then I will prioritize my health. Well, the only thing that's constant in your work and in your relationship is you. The only thing that you can control is you. You can't control your partner. You can't control your boss. You can't control how the day goes completely, but you have complete control over what you do on a day-to-day basis. You can control when you wake up. You control when you go to bed. You control what you eat. You control when you work out. Now, granted, things happen and things can get in the way, but by and large, you have complete control of the actions that you take and the actions that you don't. But still, we want to put all of our attention on what this person is thinking, what this person may or may not do. We put all of our attention on, I hope this video goes viral, or I hope people listen to my podcast, or I need X amount of downloads or X amount of followers, all these things that you have no control over. And that's consuming and it has mental real estate in our brain. We are being consumed by outcomes that we cannot control. And we wonder why we're worried sick. We wonder why we don't have peace. We have sleepless nights because all of our energy and focus is going into the unknown. What if we just flipped it and we put all of our energy and focus into the things that are known? Because the more that we control the controllables, the more the influence on the things that we can't control works out more in our favor. But can I be honest? Isn't that kind of what faith is? Isn't faith believing something that you really can't see, but trusting that it's going to take you to where you're supposed to go? You're trusting and believing in something that you can't see, but you trust that it's for you. You don't know where you're going. I didn't know I was going to start a podcast. I didn't know my social media was going to blow up. I didn't know I was going to move to California. I didn't know I was going to come back to Detroit for a while. I didn't know that. But a part of all this is submitting. And when you submit, you are also allowing yourself to submit to a season of your life. And sometimes when you submit to the season of your life, you end up receiving more of what you're supposed to get than you actually realized you were supposed to have. Because if you're only focused on what you want and what you wish things were and how you hope things end up, you end up missing a lot of the blessings along the way because you're never present. Focusing on what you can't control and letting go of the rest, it really helps you to be more present. It helps you be more present in conversations. It helps you be more present just in you general, in your life, in your mind, your body, and your spirit. And you start to appreciate things at a much deeper level. You're more grateful because you know that life is seasonal. It's cyclical. It's beautiful in a way where even when it doesn't turn out the way that we would hoped, it always ends up better than what we imagined. But if we're consumed in the outcome that we want, if we're consumed in the outcome that we desire, we miss the beauty of life. There are moments in my life where I didn't plan on certain things happening, and then they just happen. And then I would try to steer it back to what I wanted and get this thing back to how I wanted it to be. But it just didn't want to go there. And the more that I just submitted to, look, man, this is kind of the season that it is. So I'm either going to go against the grain or with the grain. If I go with it, yeah, it may be uncomfortable for a while, but ultimately it's going to work in my favor because this is what the season is calling for. Yeah, initially being in Michigan in the winter sucks because it's snowing, it's cold, you got to get to the car early, you got to drive in the snow. It sucks, right? But the more that you address for the season, the more that you dress accordingly for the season, the more that you just submit to, there's nothing you can do, right? But bundle up and do the best that you can in the season that you're in. By doing that, it allowed me to appreciate winter more because for 8 years, I didn't have winter in California. I didn't have snow, right? I got to enjoy certain things in the winter that I never got to enjoy in California, like watching football with my dad. We never did that. And we watched every single Lions game together. We got jerseys and we had superstitions and all these things, and it was great. But if I wasn't just submitting to the season, I would have missed that. I would have missed opportunities where the season wanted me to focus on one thing when I wanted it another, but there was something for me in that season that I needed for me to use and to take to the next level. But if I was so consumed on what I wanted and what I wanted to control, I miss it. And maybe you can relate to that. Maybe this season of your life is telling you to relinquish control of the outcome and to focus on the things that you can control. And so what are the things that you can't control? Well, you can control your attitude. You can control what you eat. You can control how you show up every day. You can control what time you go to bed, what time you wake up. You can control, who you reach out to. You can control who you talk to. You can't control who you come around because sometimes in workspaces, you have no control of who's hired or who's fired. But you can control who you spend time with. You can control what you watch, what you read. You can control a lot of things. But the one thing you cannot control is the outcome. You can just influence it. Just like I've said before in previous episodes, you cannot control if the ball goes in when you shoot it. The only thing you can control is taking the shot. And by the repetitions of the shots that you take, you can increase the influence of the ball going in more times than not. But if you're trying to make the shot every single time, you're going to be one frustrated basketball player because it's impossible. You can't make every single shot. But you're also not going to miss every single shot either. But if you're so consumed and wanting to make every single shot, and every video's got to go viral, and every podcast has to be dope, and every time I look in the mirror, I gotta, you're creating this false reality that everything that you touch and everything that you do is going to end up the exact same way that you intended it. And that's just not true. And I'm going to tell you this, if it did, that means you're not dreaming big enough. Because if God's ways are bigger than yours and you can do everything on your own, then that means you're not operating at the highest level that you can because you can rely only on yourself. A part of releasing control of the outcome is allowing God to be Him and for Him to do His part. The works part, that faith without works is dead, the works part, that's what you control. You control getting better. You control practicing. You control rehearsing. You control all of that. But the outcome, if you get hired for this part, if you get booked for this gig, if people buy your product or service, if this person wants to go out on a second date, like all that stuff, you don't have control of that. You only have influence in that. But the more that you're trying to play the person that does the work and the person that controls the outcome, God is just going to be like, all right, look, you can sit in my seat for as long as you want, but you're going to realize at some point that them booty cheeks ain't made for this seat. Those for my cheeks. Those are God cheeks. And you're going to get to a point, and I've been there, where you're like, yo, like, okay, something's got to change because it's not working. Because if it would work, it will work. But it's not working. If it would work, it would work. But it's not. And the more that you're willing to let go of control, and the more that you're willing to submit to the season, the more peace you're going to have, the more clarity you're going to get, the more wisdom you're going to have, because you're able to look at things from a much deeper perspective. Because if you're doing the work that you're supposed to do and you don't have what it is that you're supposed to have, it's either not the right time or you're still becoming the person that can have the relationship with the thing that you want. Because remember, I said this earlier in episodes, God created everything for relationship. So as much as you want this relationship, or as much as you want that money, or as much as you want that body, or as much as you want that career, those things that you want have to want you back. Right? So they have to want to be in a relationship with you. So are you that person yet that they want to be in a relationship with you? So if you don't have the thing yet, it may just not be the right time, or you're not the right person yet. You still have to evolve. You still have to grow. You still have to become more for that thing or those things to want to be with you. But if you're thinking just because you show up and just because you do this, that means you should, that means it don't work that way. That's a one-way ticket to misery, my friend. And unless you want to live that life, I mean, you're free to do whatever you want. If you want to be miserable, you want to live a life of mediocrity, you want to be frustrated, you want to be angry, you want to be confused, you want to be sad, you want to be lonely, like, go ahead, do your thing. No judgment here. But if you want to have a life of peace, which means also that doesn't mean that you're always happy. Having peace doesn't mean that every day is quote unquote a good day. It just means that in the midst of storms, you're never wavered spiritually. You're grounded. You're focusing on the things that matter. Because remember, nothing in life has one side. It all has two sides. So when someone asks you, are you having a good day or a bad day? It's really a trick question, because in reality, you're just having a day. The good or the bad determines your perspective of what's happening. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the bad, or are you focusing on the good? Are you focusing on the person that flipped you off or cut you off in traffic? Are you focusing on the fact that you have a job to go to that's providing you income? Or you have health, or you're breathing, or you can see, or you actually can drive because you can walk, you can use your legs? What are you focusing on? So letting go and submitting control puts you in a position of more peace. Because where you don't want to be in a position where you're only focused on the outcome, man. It takes you out of the moment. Yes, you want to have a dream. Yes, you want to have a vision. You want to know where you're going. But just because this is the vision that you have and this is the plan that you set, it doesn't mean that the plan is never deviated. The outcome, where you want to go, remains the same, but how you go about getting there might change. You may have to pivot. You may have to adjust, and that's okay. But just remember, the more that you are in the future, the more that your mind is in the outcome, is taking you out of the present. The more that you're trying to control how many people view your video or listen to your podcast, or if this person wants to go out with you, or your boss talking to you some type of way, the more that you're putting your attention into the things you cannot control, it's going to rob you of the present, and you won't be able to focus on the things that you can. Focusing so much on tomorrow robs you of your today, to the point where you're going to be unable to do the actions that's necessary for you to get the outcome that you're looking for. You trying to control the outcome is going to take the time and the energy away from the actions that's necessary to implement today to get to that desired outcome. Does that make sense? This isn't about don't have a dream, don't have a vision, don't have a goal. I'm just saying, don't do the goal while trying to control it at the same time. You want to work on the goal for the goal's sake. You want to do the work for the work's sake. You don't become the best by controlling the outcome. You become the best by focusing on what you can control and let the outcome play out. Because a part of this is you seeing yourself in the position and you seeing yourself do the thing day in and day out. When your identity changes and you now are living in a way where you're carrying yourself in a different way, like this isn't just what I do, this is who I am, the outcome is inevitable. It's inevitable. But when you're trying to control the outcome and you're wanting people to like it and you don't want people to not like it, and you're trying to control people's thoughts and feelings and outcomes, and I want people to buy it, I want people to buy more. And it's like, this is when you start to get to the point when things aren't going the way that you would hope. You start to change and you start to quit and you start to course correct because you're wanting people to give you validation that what you're doing is good. Because that's essentially one of the reasons why people are control freaks, is because they want people to like them and they want people to like what they do. But in reality, man, can I be honest? Some people just ain't gonna rock with you, and that's okay, because I don't rock with some people, but they're probably not for me and I'm not for them. There are people that aren't going to listen to this podcast because they don't like the way I talk. They don't like the way I communicate. They don't like the way my voice sounds. They think what I say is whack. That's just what it is. But there's 8 billion people on this planet. Bump most of them. You know what I mean? I'm not here to make everybody like me. I'm here to just show up and do what I feel like I'm called to do to the best of my ability. Whatever happens, happens. Yes, I can ask you to follow the podcast and rate it and review it and share it, but ultimately I can't control you doing that. I can influence it by reminding you, but ultimately you're going to do what you want to do. And I can't stop recording. I can't stop showing up because you're not doing it. I can't control that. All I can do is just keep showing up and reminding you until it clicks. If it ever clicks, and if it doesn't click, sweet, you're still listening. But you see where I'm getting at? It's a lot of times when people aren't doing what we want them to do, or things aren't going the way we want them to go, it changes how we approach things. And you can't do that. You got to still show up day in and day out like it's all good, because it is. Because your character is being tested when things aren't going according to plan. It's easy to be good and it's easy to show up and do things when everything's going your way. But what happens when things don't? How are you going to treat people then? How are you going to show up then? What are you going to do? You'll be pissed, you'll be mad, you'll be angry. Man, I'm doing it, but they ain't buying it, man. They don't rock with me like that, man. Are you going to keep trying to convince people that don't like you to like you? Or are you just going to go to the people that rock with you? Speak to them. Listen, I'm going to be straight up. The door opens both ways. The same door that you came into this community is the same door when you can leave. I only want to talk to the people that want to be here and stay. I'm not trying to convince you to stay. Please believe. These boots is made for walking. So you can walk in just as fast as you can walk out. I don't care. I don't care if you never listen to this podcast ever again. I don't care if you unfollow me. I don't care, because I know as soon as you leave, 10 more are coming in. I'm talking to the people that want to be here. I'm talking to the people that rock with me. I'm talking to the people that like what I have to say. I'm not trying to convince people and try to create things in a way that makes people want to listen to me. No, I'm going to be me. And then whoever rocks with that, rocks with it. I can't control you hitting the follow button. I can't control you follow me on Instagram. I can't control you investing in my services. I can't control that. All I can do is influence it. Keep doing the best that I can, controlling what I can control, and ultimately the outcome will play out, how it plays out. But I'm not going to lose sleep over that. I'm not going to have my peace ruined over that. And you shouldn't either. You should not be putting all of your time, energy, intention, and love into the things that you can't control, because it's going to rob you of the things that you can. It's going to taint it. Because now you're going to be if you're not getting the views or the things that you want or the love that you want or the things that you want, now it's going to taint the work that you do in the present, because now you're doing it out of hate and you're not doing it out of love. Now you're doing it from a place of lack instead of a place of abundance. Now you're doing it so people will like you, not just doing it because you love it, not just doing it because you feel led to do it, not just doing it because it feels like it's a part of you. Now you're doing it to get people's approval, to get people's validation, to get people to like you, to get you back. It's like a relationship. Yo, if she wants to leave, let her ass go. If he wants to leave, let his ass go. Don't text and plead. Don't write them a love note. Don't do none of that. If they want to leave your life for whatever reason, if they say, hey, my time here is done, you can no longer add to my life and I no longer want to add to yours, I'm out. As painful as it is, let them go. Because the more that you're trying to convince them to love you and to be there, you're submitting your power away. You're telling them, I can't breathe without you. I need you in order to survive and to live. And it's like, no, it just hurts that they're gone. I get it. Give yourself time to grieve. But if someone wants to leave, let them go. They're just making room for the person that wants to stay and be there. Come. No matter how much you love someone, you still can't control them. And honestly, and I'm going to close with this, this is the main reason why I love God so much, because he loves me so much. He loves you so much to the point where he still gives you the option to choose. He loves me so much that he still gives me the freedom to choose. Because let's be honest, true love, when you really love somebody, you don't control them. No matter how much you love them, like I'm not a parent, but I will be someday. If you're a parent and you're listening to this, the ultimate sign of love for your kid is when you stop trying to control them as they get older. Because a part of love is you have to give them room to make decisions for themselves. Because sometimes when you're trying to control so much, they'll make a decision just despite what you want them to do. Allowing someone to grow into who they're called to be, I mean, that's love, giving someone the freedom to choose. He loves me so much. He's not controlling me. He's allowing me to choose freely. Because no one wants to be in a relationship where they feel obligated to be in the relationship. No one wants to be in a relationship where they feel pressured to be in a relationship. Where they feel like you're hanging something over them in order to be in a relationship. No, you want to be in a relationship with someone that wants to be with you. They're making a decision to be with you. I made a decision for God to be in my life. I gave my life to Christ. I didn't feel pressured to do that. I wanted to, because I knew what life was like when I didn't have it. He didn't force me. I didn't feel guilted. I wanted him in my life because I got tired of trying to control the outcome, and it was robbing me of my peace. So I had to change things. Now, I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just telling you my story. The reason why I have a relationship with God is because I got tired of trying to control everything, because controlling everything left me depressed, anxious, on medication, taking antidepressants. Like it put me in a dark place. But when I learned to submit and got okay with it, even when I wasn't comfortable with it, but I just said, you know what? Trying to control everything put me here. Let's see what happens when I do the opposite. Because remember, everything is two-sided. So if controlling things put me here, then probably doing the opposite is going to get me out of here. So if you're listening to this and you're a control freak and you're someone that wants to control everything, listen, you do what you want to do, boo-boo. But if you're asking me for advice and guidance, I would tell you to stop. I would tell you to stop trying to control everything. Focus on the things that you can control and go hard on those things. Like commit, go extra hard on it. Go hard on your health. Go hard on your mental health. Go hard in your routines. Go hard in your relationships. Go hard in the things that you can give and serve. Go hard. But man, back off on the things that you can't control. Let go of that. Don't give into a relationship to make someone else give back. You give for giving's sake. Whatever they decide to do is on them. But if it gets to the point where you're the only one doing that, then you know what you got to do. But you're not doing it to make someone do it. You're doing it because that's just who you are. You give. You serve. You're not trying to do it to control the outcome. You're doing it because that's who you are, and you're letting go of what they could do. If they decide to do it, that's on them, but you're not doing it to control them into doing it. You're doing it because that's who you are. If you really want to be who you're called to be, you're going to have to learn to let go and submit control. I'm telling you, you can try to do all the things that you want. You can try to have your plan, whatever. If you're trying to control the outcome, you're going to lose. Again, this does not mean you don't control the controllables. All the things that you can directly control and impact, you go hard on that. But the fruit of what comes from that, you don't have say-so in that, only influence. So the more that you're letting go of that and putting that back into the things that you can control, man, you're going to have more peace. You're going to have more wisdom. You're going to have more clarity. Man, you're going to have more fun. You're going to be more of a joy to be around. You're going to smile more. You're going to laugh more. You're going to go even more hard because you got this abundance of energy because you're not drained anymore. And when you put all that energy into that, you're only influencing the result to be the way that you want it to be anyway, because you're controlling even more of what you can control, but with more energy and more effort. How great is that? So, in conclusion, I want you to take away these few things. Number one, I want you to focus on, first of all, I want you to look at all the things in your life right now that you have no control of, that you're thinking about night and day. And I want you to make a commitment that one by one, you're going to start to relinquish control. For me, that's giving it to God. That's what I do. That's what I can recommend to you. If that's something that you're not on, cool. Do your best to not focus on it. But for me, I'm giving it to God. I'm telling God, look, I can't control this. It's consuming my heart and my mind. I'm giving it up to you so I can have the strength to focus on what I can focus on and control what I can control. That's what I do. So the first thing is you have to one by one give away, submit the things that's taking your mental real estate and give that away. For me, it's giving it to God. For you, it may just be just completely letting it go and not even thinking about it. Okay? The second thing is I want you to look at the things that you can control, your health, your wellness, the people that's in your circle, things like that. And I want you to commit to going hard in those areas. So all this energy and focus that you're going to have on reserve now, put it into that. Put your focus and energy into the things that you can control. Give your health and wellness 100%. Give your relationships 100%. Give your routines 100%. Give your attitude 100%. Go all in on those things. Okay? And the last thing I will say is this. Try to have moments where you break away from the work and you go do something freaking fun, man. Make sure you're putting some fun into your day, putting some fun into your week. For me, man, I go outside and go shoot around. That brings me so much joy. I love it. I make time for that because that makes me feel like a kid and it breaks the pattern of being in work mode and allows me just to be free for a while. Movies, TV shows, like these moments that I put in my schedule, it allows me to stay fresh and joyful and rejuvenated. I want you to do the same thing in your life. Have pockets in the day where you have 15 minutes, 20 minutes, where you just, man, you shut the phone down, you shut the world off, and you go have a ball, man. Go for a run, play basketball, play pickleball, listen to music, dance, do something where you are shutting that brain off, that part of your brain off, and you're living, man. You're in here just having fun. You're smelling outside. You're looking at the birds, the trees. You don't have your phone. You don't have your headphones on. You're just in the moment. I want you to have more of those things in your life. That is going to do so much for you. You have no idea. Okay? So that concludes today's episode of Submitting Control, man. I know it sucks. I know it's hard, but it is 100% necessary. And if you're listening to this still and you have not followed the podcast, the only thing I can do is influence you to do so. So please follow the podcast, rate and review. And if there's anybody or any bodies that come to mind when you are listening to this episode, man, please share it. The more, the merrier. You never know who may needs it. And again, I love you so much. Follow me on social media. I am Coach Ace on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I love you so much. Be safe, be blessed. I'll see you soon. And thank you again for listening to the Third Quarter Podcast.